It's fucking science. What's going on, everyone? It's Chris from 416 Coffee, and this is episode 26 of Coffee with Chris. Now, today I'm talking about a very kind of convoluted topic. There's a bunch of information on this topic, but I'm going to break it down into its simplest form, and that's water temperature when brewing filter coffee or immersion brewed coffee. So basically, here is the simple short answer. Lighter roasts will need hotter water temperature. If a roast is more developed, it's going to need cooler water. Now, why does this happen? So when we're adding hot water to coffee, the heat from the water is dissolving the soluble materials in the coffee and bringing them down into what we're drinking. So if a roast is lighter roasted, that means that the coffee needs a bit more temperature for the chemical reaction to occur to pull kind of the good flavors out of a coffee. Now, if you're experiencing lighter roasted coffees that are tasting super sour, you might need to actually increase your water temperature because you're getting an under-extracted flavor from the coffee. Now, if you have a darker roasted coffee, or what we would call a more developed roast, and you're bringing out a lot of bitter flavors or flavors that you're not too fond of, then what you're going to want to do is cool down the water. So what I like to do is, if I have a light roasted coffee, I will bring that water as close to a boil as possible when brewing. I will try to keep that water as hot as possible. If it's a medium roasted coffee, I will do the same, and then I'll taste it, and then I'll make my adjustments from there, maybe knocking it down a few degrees, or if you're using like a traditional kettle without temperature control, letting it come off a boil just a little bit before beginning brewing. And if I'm using a more developed roast, then I'm looking at the low 90 degrees Celsius area. So like 90, 91, 89, 92, 88, somewhere in that range. Now the reason being, with dark roasted coffees, they break down during the roasting process. So they are able to give up more of their soluble material with less heat. So what happens is when we brew those with too hot of water, we're kind of taking too much out of the coffee, and we're extracting some of those bitter flavors that are there, some of the carbon, some of those burnt tones. So we want to avoid that. So that's why you're going to use cooler waters with more developed roasts, and you're going to use hot water close to boiling, as close to boiling as possible if the roast is really light. And that's it. That's the simplest way to explain coffee water temperatures. Light roasts, hot water, cooler water for dark roast. That's it. You can think of it as the opposite of what they experienced in the roaster, right? The darker roasted coffee might have been at a higher temperature for a longer period of time, and the lighter roasted coffee might have been at a lower temperature for a lower period of time. So same thing. Light roast needs hot water. Dark roast, cooler water. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that made sense, and I'll see you next time.